Welcome to Pioneers in Payments, where payments experts share their insights. Now, here's our host, Donna Blum.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to this edition of Pioneers in Payments. Today, I have the pleasure of speaking with Laura Gibson-Lamothe. Welcome, Laura.
Thank you so much. I'm happy to be here.
And Laura, you are with the Georgia Fintech Academy, right?
Yes, that is correct.
Would you mind sharing with our audience a little bit about your background in the payments industry and what you do at the Georgia Fintech Academy?
Yeah, I'll give you the Cliff Notes version because I can get quite lengthy now that I've accumulated 20 years in the industry. But I started off my journey in banking and financial services and navigated a variety of different banks, such as Bank of America, Wachovia, Wells Fargo, Ally Bank, where I spent the bulk of my years in payments, really focusing mostly on mergers and acquisitions and dealing with some product work and digital transformation, of course, along that journey. It led me into dabbling into a little bit of consulting, and then coming down to Atlanta from Charlotte, North Carolina, where all those banks I previously mentioned exist, and it's the banking capital of the U.S. Down to Atlanta, which is a huge fintech ecosystem, and I partnered or I worked for a fintech startup called Feature Space here, which was leveraging or is leveraging machine learning and artificial intelligence from a fraud risk management perspective. And working for that organization exposed me to the opportunity where I am now at the Georgia Fintech Academy. It was a perfect marriage of industry and academic experience, bridging the gap between the two institutions and helping facilitate students' pathways into the industry. And so I'm in an amazing spot for myself. I think professionally over the years, I've always sought opportunities to be able to innovate and to get my hands on technology. And now to be able to apply what I've learned over the years, along with my passion and my side hustle, I call it, which was working with diverse talent, working with next gen, and really being able to hone in on those opportunities to get real hands-on, tangible experiences. I'm able to develop all of that in the role that I'm at and working in now at the Georgia Fintech Academy. So I'm very excited to be able to be here with you today, Donna, to share a little bit about the Fintech Academy, what I've seen in the industry, and how those two pieces intersect.
That's wonderful. Actually, I had the opportunity to talk with Tommy Marshall. I think it was a year ago or so, and so it's going to be interesting to hear, what's new at the Georgia Fintech Academy. I know that you are on the cutting edge of all that's going on in payments. So let's go ahead and jump to our next question, which is with all that's happening in the industry today, and there's a lot. Um, what would you say is the greatest trend that we're seeing in payments today?
Well, I know everyone's probably sick of people mentioning this word, but AI, artificial intelligence, I it keeps me up at night, and not because of what I think folks on the industry side are thinking. I am more excited and fueled by the opportunities that this will continue to open. We've been looking at several different use cases. I know I just mentioned earlier, coming from working with Feature Space, and thinking about it from a fraud risk management perspective, real time decisioning, and being able to navigate kind of just the analytics of human behavior when it comes to transactions. That practice and those processes have persisted throughout the industry for the past 10-15 years. So when we talk about AI from that perspective, it's not new. But when we talk about generative AI and large language models and how it can be utilized to enhance customer experience, to even provide cutting edge opportunities for people to have financial empowerment and gain financial literacy, and really move the needle for certain demographics and segments within uh, across the globe, that might not have otherwise interacted in these financial interactions, is a unique perspective, I think, as well as some of the things that we've been talking about for a while in the industry, which I think are now starting to be embraced, which are, being able to leverage some of the efficiencies that could be gained from the use of generative AI. So I'm excited to see that. And from a curriculum perspective, we've been playing around with ways to provide students with some access and then also exposure to how those technologies are being applied.
So I got a question for you. If you go back to like when the internet was new, obviously there was conversations on both sides. Like, it can be used for good. It can also be used for not so good purposes, right? But hopefully the good outweighs the negative, right? So in your opinion, do you think that the advantages that we have with AI are going to outweigh those disadvantages, let's say the fraudsters using AI to commit more fraud? Would you say that the scales are tipped more towards the positive benefits?
Yeah, I think if we look back historically at how that scale, what that balance of that scale looks like today, I think it reflects the same as it will in the future. Obviously, there's creating opportunities for unique positions and jobs in the industry when we look at how these technologies are being utilized for bad. Someone always has to be on the other side countering those bad behaviors and implementing and enforcing certain controls and parameters to protect customers, to protect companies. And so from that perspective, I love to see how cybersecurity and some other areas are continuing to evolve. But I do think there's a lot of good that can come. And I think for a lot of folks that are looking for career pathways, it really presents opportunities to be innovative and get ahead of some of the bad actors that are out there, that are continuing to look for loopholes and ways to kind of penetrate certain environments. So I'm definitely more optimistic, I think, than most, but I definitely see it kind of teetering on the end where there's more good that can come from it versus bad.
I think so too. I'm excited to see what's going to happen in the future. Personally, I love using AI just from my role in sales and marketing. Definitely create some efficiencies there. So let's talk now a little bit about what you see as the greatest opportunity for organizations that process payments today.
Yeah, so I think the greatest opportunity that I'm seeing is really the collaboration across the ecosystem. I think we are now embracing more partnerships. From a fintech perspective, partnerships extend not only from those that are leveraging and integrating services, but just thinking about the way that companies, larger companies, are investing in startups and smaller organizations and their growth. And we've seen a lot of accelerator programs that we've been exposed to and participated in from a fintech academy perspective because we offer access to talent. But I think the piece of the ecosystem, leveraging partnerships, developing really innovative technologies, and sharing those best practices across the industry only helps us as a broader industry continue to grow and to evolve. And so seeing that cycle and evolution of growth, I think, across the industry is really exciting to see. And then selfishly, I have to plug the FinTech Academy piece. I think one of the pieces around talent that's really critical is, we've come through a time where I think in the industry, a lot of folks that I know and have worked with, including myself, have gained a lot of my education on the job. I started off doing some bank teller enhancements, and that gave me a whole new side of the business experience and exposure to working on front end customer facing technologies, and that gave me kind of a well-rounded perspective. But now with the focus on fintech education continuing to evolve through the academy and through other institutions, that type of institutional education is really evolving and maturing, and it goes from basic payments processing to more advanced technical applications like we mentioned AI and cybersecurity and other domains as well. And so I think being able to tap into and leverage the fintech education component only helps the entire ecosystem upskill, train, and refine and cultivate experts.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. So I'm just kind of envisioning, a rising tide actually floats all boats, right? So as you improve the education, you're improving the entire industry. So very good. Okay, so you talked about the greatest opportunity. What do you think is the greatest challenge for organizations that process payments?
I think next gen is a big challenge. Early talent, and being able to attract, retain, and help kind of just grow that pipeline of talent. We've been really focused from a fintech academy perspective, working with our partners on not only talent acquisition strategies, but what is the plan overall, that journey map, to use a industry terminology that's usually for consumers internally, to what you're offering and providing, what support you're offering and providing your employees. I mentioned upskilling as well. That's also included within that educational journey, especially when it comes down to retention. But students that I work with at the level, we're talking, primarily undergraduate. We also even work with high schools through the Department of Education as well. A lot of them are the appeal of payments is through their personal experience, and they're familiar with the Cash Apps and the Venmos and and PayPal, and translating that into the back end component of how things work is something that's of interest to them. They understand money, they use money, but there's a little bit of financial literacy to kind of give students a solid foundation, and then there's an unveiling of a flurry of opportunities in this industry. It's vast. And I always tell students, I'm like, why not make money in money? It's a very it's a vast ecosystem, tons of different segments and ways that you can look at navigating a pathway into the industry. And then once you're in the industry, and my personal professional experience reflects that, not only just working for traditional banks, but working for fintechs and working in consulting, and going in between, back and forth a bunch. There's just plenty of opportunities in this space, and so it's exciting to be able to share that with the next generation.
I would think so too. In fact, when you think about this industry, there are so many things that we're doing with payments today that weren't even on the radar, what, 10, certainly not 20 years ago. And so as things continue to evolve, really, there's a lot of opportunities for innovative, creative thinkers who say, what if we could do this? There might not be a way to do it today, but I bet we could figure out how to do this in the future. It just keeps getting better and better. I would think that would be pretty adventurous to be in that space, right?
Yeah, yeah. It's funny when you were mentioning that. I was thinking about one of my first projects that I worked on ever was remote deposit capture for Bank of America's ATMs. And to me back then, I was like, "Oh, this is cutting edge." Now I laugh and say, "Bless my heart," but I'm like, man, just being able to do, to kind of see some of these technology enhancements come to fruition is what I think drives a lot of young people. Being able to tangibly kind of see how that works, and be able to see what the impact is on the other side is rewarding for a lot of folks that are pursuing careers in this space. And so, yeah, it's tons of exciting things. We actually did a student project recently with an organization called Fintech Atlanta, and they have run it by the buyers, where startups of various stages get to present in front of a panel of buyers that are representing 10, 20 companies across the industry, potential banks, and or bank partners, and such. And what we did was open it up to the university system for students to present a concept. They submitted about 45. We filtered them down to 15, and then we had a small group of finalists that got to present and pitch their pitch on the day, in person, real time, competing for a $6,000 scholarship. And we had some amazing solutions. Now, some we were like, this might not necessarily be technically feasible right now, maybe in the future with some other things in place, and some might be way too costly than it's necessarily worth. But the ideas were just so motivating, and inspiring and encouraging. And so we're planting a seed for student, innovators, for student entrepreneurs, even, founders, to be able to give them a platform to kind of start having that exercise, that practice of, dreaming, thinking big, thinking out of the box, and formulating that on documentation and finalizing their pitch and delivering it in front of industry, leaders, for feedback. So it was a tremendous experience.
Yeah, what an amazing program. It almost makes me want to go back to school so I could be in on that.
I hear that all the time. People are like, "I wish I had that when I was in school," and I lived that myself, which is why I'm like really excited about getting creative. And I know I use the word innovative probably 50 times in this conversation, but it is innovative to think about ways to get students, experience real world experience, in a way where we're almost simulating it, because they're not necessarily there yet, but they're getting there, and they're gaining that, experience and exposure to be even stronger once they're working in the industry.
Well, kudos to the Georgia Fintech Academy for investing in the next generation of payments experts. So we appreciate what you do there. Um, okay, so we talked about opportunities and challenges. What would you say of all that's going on in the industry and all the advice that you could potentially give to payments companies? What is your silver bullet piece of advice?
Mm. You know, I struggle with this question just because it to me it's so broad. I think about things that I'm really passionate about. Obviously, next gen talent, which I have, almost exhausted that particular topic, but I also think about company culture and creating an environment where it is open for innovation. We talk about often in the industry, there's been so many different, eras, I call it, of digital transformation, and looking to enhance, the customer experience, and then also, enhance the, archaic, most of the time, back end technology that's required to support such a innovative, dynamic, environment. And so, for me, I think it's a combination of all of those pieces, really being able to focus on, keeping up pace with the industry, which is quickly evolving. Obviously, there's a balance of, a wish list of things that we would love to do, and then also maintaining compliance and all of the fun stuff that's required to be able to do that. But in a seamlessly organized environment, we're seeing a lot more nimble, companies in the payment space that are really, cultivating that type of environment and that type of culture where the community can be free to be creative, to think outside the box, to work with their partners, in other verticals within an enterprise organizational structure. And so I think that's the I guess it's not really the silver bullet, but that's a big ask to say. But I think there's a lot that can be achieved in this space when we think about, approaching innovation from that perspective. Uh, yes.
Yeah, I think that's great. There are still a lot of organizations that are still perhaps doing things the way they've always done them. That's what's comfortable. That's where their talent pool's expertise lies. But I think that this industry is all about innovation. It's fast moving. It's a train, and I think that organizations really need to get on board now, or they're going to be left back at the station, right? So um, I love, and it's funny. I heard you use compliance and fun stuff in the same sentence, which doesn't normally happen.
I've been working on putting compliance, reg and compliance in a lighter, tone. And it is funny because we've been evaluating how we provide exposure for students to navigate that particular pathway. For me, growing up as a technologist, deep in technology, it was always an afterthought, or there was always a lot of moans and groans when someone raised their hands in a governance meeting asking if you not only checked that box, but like did your due diligence. And now it's integral and integrated within every step of the process, or at least ideally it should be in most operations. And so every single resource is accountable for that. And I try to not have that like layer of ugh when I speak with students, because I'm like, you still need to be able to have that hat on when you're having conversations about innovation.
Right, right. And as these large banks partner more and more with fintechs, they need to make sure that their fintech partners are also very compliance minded as well.
Yeah.
So,
Yep.
yeah,
Yep.
that's
You're
good
right.
that you are introducing that topic to your students, but trying to make it less daunting and,
Yep.
that's good. Well, so that those were all of my questions. Really, I just before we wrap up here, Laura, I wanted to make sure that our audience knows how that they can learn more about the Georgia Fintech Academy and how perhaps they might be able to get a hold of you if they wanted to have a conversation with you directly.
Yes, they can go out to our website, georgiafintechacademy.org. We have a lot of resources and materials out there just to learn more about the work that we're doing and our upcoming events. I will say for most audience, I'm always pushing the fact that we're always looking for volunteers. We do guest speaker series twice a night each week during each semester, which I know sounds like a lot. It is a lot, but these are opportunities for students to gain exposure in different areas, different verticals, leaders from across the industry, in different functions, and gain kind of that insight, real time insights outside of the professors and the faculty they engage with during the coursework. So it's a real big asset for us to have. And so we're always looking for volunteers. We are very active on LinkedIn and other social media platforms from a Georgia FinTech Academy perspective, but then also people can connect with me, myself, out on LinkedIn as well. I think the future is limitless when we think about where we can go with the FinTech Academy. We've collaborated across the state. Of course, we support all 26 public facing institutions here, from Georgia State and Georgia Tech to Columbus State and Kennesaw State University. The universities are all scattered across the state. We've partnered externally, and externally is also domestic and now internationally, globally. We have a focus with university partnerships. So there's a lot of opportunities for collaboration, a lot of opportunities to tap into our growing talent pool. So if you need interns, if you need full time, folks from early talent and mid level talent as well, we have folks that are continuing their educational journey, at various stages. And then we also have folks who are upskilling in certain areas as well and just taking certain courses. So we have a wide array of students that have, various different backgrounds. So we're always looking for those opportunities for helping our student base get employed.
Wonderful. And those volunteers you were talking about, do they present in person or is it virtual?
So we have both opportunities. Mostly it's virtual for us because we always have the component of providing accessibility across the university system. So we have at any point of time, any semester on average, a couple thousand students that are enrolled in taking courses and participating in our online sessions. So virtual is a thing. We do lunch and learns. We've done night sessions. The bulk of ours are night sessions because that's when students are mostly able to engage. But we're really flexible when it comes to time zones, and when we schedule these virtual sessions. But yes, it's open to virtual, definitely.
Very good. So people anywhere in United States or elsewhere, if they're in payments and they want to help cultivate the next generation of payments professionals, this is a way that they could make an impact, right?
Yeah.
And they could find out more information on the website about how to volunteer.
Yes, they can.
Wonderful. Okay. Well, thank you so much, Laura. It has been such a pleasure talking with you, and I'm sure that our audience appreciates all that you've shared as well. And I just want to thank everybody for watching today. Have a
Thank
good
you.
day.
Thank you, Donna.